there's not that sense of a group consciousness. We have one planet. That's it.
Yeah.
And everything looks the same if you don't have oxygen and food. Like we've kind of forget the essential things. Like, so the idea if we're all equal, and I know this sounds, simplistic or la-da-da, but oneness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like seeing everyone as a member of your family. If the human race is a family, then we can start to really work together.
What's up, damn givers? Welcome to Let's Give a Damn, a podcast about people who give a damn, by people who give a damn, and for people who give a damn. That's you. Thanks for listening in. I'm so glad you're here. Last week, I went up to the Rainn Wilson residence in LA, but it was not to chat with Rainn. This time, I stopped by to record a podcast conversation with his wife and much better half, Holiday Reinhorn. Erin Shachory, one of the Lide Haiti board members, joined us for the chat, and I had a blast. We spent the majority of our time together chatting about all things Haiti, Lide, empowering young people, and we even talk about how Rainn stole a bunch of hotel keys like 20 years ago. But back to Lide. Lide provides academic support and arts programs that empower girls who have been denied equal access to education and strengthen their resiliency. You may be asking, is educating Haitian young girls in the arts the best thing Lide can be doing for them? I mean, they probably need clothes and food and jobs. Well, Holiday and Erin have a fantastic response to this question. I want to point something out before we get going. This organization exists to serve young women, and it is primarily led and run by women. This is hugely important. 2 of the co-founders are women. Most of the board members are women, over half of them being Haitian women, and almost all of their staff are women. I do want to give a special shout out to the 3rd co-founder, Catherine Adams, who is also the executive director who has lived in Haiti for the last 4 years. She, alongside Rainn and Holiday, have started something truly impactful and hopeful and amazing in Haiti. And sometime in the next year, I plan to head down to Haiti to visit Lide and a bunch of other amazing people and organizations down there, and I'll be sure to record a podcast with Catherine Adams. Okay, I think I've said all I need to say before we get going, so let's do this. This is the Let's Give a Damn podcast, and here is my chat with Holiday Reinhorn and Erin Shachory. Holiday Reinhorn and Erin Shachory, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So glad
thank you
you're
for
here.
inviting me into your home and in your office, Holiday.
This is it.
Super fun. Nobody can see it, but there's a key wall. What's up with the key wall?
Well, there's a lot of books here.
Yes.
So
yeah. That's the most important part.
No. I needed like a room to house my books, but I also house my keys, if you're asking about so my husband, Rainn Wilson, who you've talked to on this podcast.
Yep, a couple years ago. Yep, one of the first.
Okay, well, when we first met, he was an actor on tour back in the day. And he was on a bus and truck tour of all 49 states, doing Romeo and Juliet. And so we were dating. I was living in Seattle, and he would send me the keys from every motel that he
back when there were keys in
there
motels.
were keys.
He would just leave with the key.
That's right.
He wouldn't turn it back in.
He wouldn't turn it back in. So he's that guy that's like, oh, we don't have the key to that room. He's because he stole it.
He's the one, and they're all here.
Yeah, and then some of them say my name on them. Like there was a waitress named with my name. And I don't know,
fun.
Just various stuff.
Well, I'll try to remember to take a picture if you don't mind. So we told people about it. Now they have to see a picture of it.
Okay. You're allowed. You're allowed.
But yeah, thank you so much. Let's begin by getting to know a little bit about you both. Since you kind of opened us up, we'll start with Erin. I just want to know, before we talk about your work in Haiti with Lide and the wonderful work you're doing, let's begin by getting to know you a little bit. I think that will inform that'll help us see why you're doing the kind of work you're doing instead of, you could be doing a million other things, right? And you're doing this.
A couple.
And so, yeah, a couple things. So when I say, tell me who you are, whatever comes to mind, give us a little taste of that.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having us here.
Yeah,
it's really nice to speak to another, a thought leader.
Yeah.
Not another, but a thought leader. Thank you so much for having us.
You both are. Come on. Don't be so modest.
Well, I am fortunate to be a friend of Holiday Reinhorn's, and I met Holiday. Let's say our kids are 14, so 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When we both lived in the Valley, and Holiday was a writing teacher for me. So I have been a writer. I've been involved in PR, marketing, et cetera. And I have always been interested in helping the greater good, but I always thought it would be later on in my life. And I had a great opportunity a couple of years ago when Rain asked me if I would eventually want to bring my daughters with me to Haiti. He said, "One day you'll come with us," and I said, "Yeah, okay, buddy." As I have 3 daughters and 3 teenage daughters. Now they're 18, 17, 13, 14. But at the time they were much younger, and I said, "Okay, yeah, okay, great." And then and I should probably tell you who I am, what I did, all that kind of stuff. I'll get to that, but. But the reason that I really became involved was a couple months later. My 13-year-old daughter snuck out of the house, was out like hanging out with, kind of the wrong sort. She'll be embarrassed to hear this, and came home in a police car. She was just out after curfew.
Sure.
It was not a big deal, but I was realizing that my children had developed affluenza, had kind of lost sight of who they really truly are. And so I called Rain and Holiday and said, "We'll be helpful. How can we be helpful?" And they said, "Come with us." So I took my 2 older daughters, 14 and 13 at that time, and we went down to help out. And since we went to Haiti, I couldn't get enough of trying to be available and be helpful.
That's awesome.
So now I'm a board member for Lide, and I help with social media. I help with outreach for youth, and also just if anyone's interested in having us come and speak about Lide to their communities, their organizations, then I like to be a part of that.
That's awesome.
So my own background.
Yeah.
As a military brat, and lived, like I was telling you earlier, I'm from Los Angeles originally, and then my family moved to Bermuda. We moved to Naples, Italy. My parents kept moving and to Alabama, Spain, et cetera, et cetera. I went to college, and that's where I'm at. And the reason this organization is so important to me is my grandmother was a graduate of USC, really, really smart woman, and I always recognized the strong role models that I had for women and what the part that education plays in it. So this really speaks to my heart. And
Yeah, it connects a lot of dots.
Yeah. So that's
wonderful.
me. That's
Thank you.
that's my life story for you.
There it is. Holiday, tell us a little bit
Well,
about yourself.
Erin also didn't mention she's an amazing writer. She's a yoga and meditation teacher and has taught in our programs, which has been wonderful, and done professional development workshops.
Well, what's so funny about that is if I type Holiday in the internets, like a lot comes up. And when I was like, did you pay somebody really well to like scrub the internet? Because I found your Twitter account, but then I found the yoga thing. So I was going to ask about that. I found your Twitter account, and yoga.
Yeah.
What you didn't find probably was about 10 years ago, I won a baking contest too. So
that's
probably
maybe that's on page
only
4
the
or 5.
second thing.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, Holiday.
So yes, and she is a wonderful addition to the Lide board.
Awesome.
So that's great. I'm Holiday, and I am a fiction writer by trade. I have a collection of short stories called Big Cats, and a lot of a novel, and a new collection which is almost done, about to go out into the world, hopefully. So that's me. And I have a master's from the Iowa Writers Workshop, and I was an actor and a performance artist is how I came to writing. That's how I met my husband. We really just devoted ourselves to working on our art, and I always had this philanthropic kind of thread underneath, wishing to do more, especially in women's education, because I come from generations of female teachers.
Yeah.
And I didn't really appreciate it as I could have as a young person, but my grandmother started a school for autistic children, the Perry Center in Portland, Oregon. It was one of the first of its kind. And I remember her there were always these stories of her going out into the Spanish Basque community and doing literacy and empowerment, and like working in the lumber camps with the families of the loggers and all sorts of work like that. And it was always in my mind. And my father also was in the military. He was a dentist in the Army. So we lived overseas. We lived in Southeast Asia and Japan. and Hong Kong and Philippines, and I witnessed extreme poverty. And I think that had a real impact too. So it was the idea of the inequalities of the world just weren't okay to me. Like if someone was unable to have the basic necessities of life that are possible, it's just how they're distributed that's unjust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was always part of it and always pushing at me. And so when I started being a writing teacher, I wanted to kind of get out of the university and do more for populations that weren't exposed to creative writing, because education and the arts are so important. And so I taught a little bit in like juvenile system and volunteering, and taught at university too, but also like adult community centers, just off the beaten track, and I found that addition to people's lives was really transformative. So come 2010, when the earthquake happened in Haiti, 6 months later, I get this strange email across my desk that just said, we're looking for creative writers, artists, actors, painters to come be part of a workshop in the tent city in Port-au-Prince for displaced persons, adolescent girls ages 12 to 18, to do a 2-week arts workshop to help, restore folks back into life.
And probably give them something to do and distract them from all the craziness.
Exactly. So how do 70,000 people live in canvas tents in rainy season with no sewage and no security and it was most dangerous, obviously, for adolescent girls. So that was part of it as well, just creating safe space. So we went down to Haiti, and basically it was this incredible, eye-opening experience because, frankly, I was pretty skeptical about the arts being the central thing that was needed. I mean, it just went...
Right, you automatically think, shoes, clothes, food,
infrastructure, mapping,
all the things.
Everything.
But not art,
I was like, we'll get to that, but really it was unbelievable because we went into a group of 40 women who couldn't close their eyes, couldn't sleep, they were in such PTSD. And the arts, meditation, creative writing, the process of making art created immediate community. It was immediately empowering. It was this state of renewal. And all these girls, even that had issues before the earthquake, were taking on life's challenges that had pre-existed, So we were like, oh, a light came on, And so we thought, wow, this could be incredible, especially in areas in the rural communities, parts of Haiti, which really have even less accessibility for girls and women. And the power of really in the cost-benefit analysis of supporting women and empowering women is it's the way to fight extreme poverty in the world.
So you started seeing these needs, and you did at what point did Lead Day become a thing?
Yeah. So, we knew that it was something that we didn't want to just show up and decide where Lead Day should be. The girls named it, by the way, which means leader.
Yeah, tell us what it means.
Yeah. So in Creole, it means leader. It means visionary. It means voice. It means illumination. So an idea, bright idea.
Yeah.
Life-changing idea. And, one of the girls had said at the end of the first workshop, she's like, people come here all the time, they come to Haiti and they bring us stuff, and they, they bring water systems and wind machines and all sorts of things, shoes, and but it makes no difference if we have no hope. And this program brings us hope, like the way to transform is to live it. That old saying, someone smart, was like...
Yeah.
I just want to say that again, that what Rain told me, the clincher, the reason that I went the first time was he told me that story, and he kept saying, what good are shoes if you don't have hope? And where are you going to go? Yeah. So.
And especially
powerful.
coming from like so much of education, that at the university and in elementary school and high school, it's like, oh, the arts, they're great. They're a great part of things. But as soon as we run out of money, we're cutting them,
It's the first thing to go.
Least funded, proportionally.
Yep.
And they're just pivotal. I just watch it. It's a magical process, like girls coming into and reading immediately, just so. But I was going to say, and I lost my train of thought a little bit. What
fine.
was your question?
The question was just your story. The question was just your story. Tell your story.
Oh, it was.
There's no right or wrong answers here. Just tell it all.
Okay. You know how you just find yourself in a thicket.
Well, there's this has been like multiple years of a journey for you all, man.
I know. Sure. Okay. Oh, but this is really important. This is what it was. We wanted to be invited.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. There were communities within Port-au-Prince that we were invited to come do little pilot projects, and we always found success whenever we did it. It just had this great impact, and we often go back years later, even places where we only visited once or twice, and we'll see remnants of the program because girls immediately adopt it. They invite other girls, and in fact, the program that happened in the tent city continued on for a year and a half. Once they were rehomed back into their neighborhood, it stopped. But that was another really important part of it. Anyway, so we went all over the country visiting and talking to people, and that was what we heard over and over from the communities, like girls' education. That's what we need. Our girls have no programs. Our girls are, having babies younger and younger. It's getting worse and worse out here. More and more, people are moving to the city. We don't, et cetera.
The brain drain.
Brain drain, yeah.
Yeah, as kids get educated, and particularly boys, then they move on to the cities so that they can find work. Cities, Port-au-Prince, or what often happens with Haiti as well is that the men will leave Haiti in search of a better life and send money back home.
Sure.
But women stay in the community.
Yeah. And kind of they continue on. So giving free space to grow is incredibly fertile, in the communities. It's gonna be the sustainable thing. Yeah. So I think there's a statistic. It's like for every one woman that becomes literate, it positively affects 100 people in her community.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
One guy is one guy.
One guy. It just
Sorry,
is.
Nick.
No. No. I'm okay with that statistic.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters and a wonderful wife, and I know how powerful and amazing and influential they can be, and that makes sense. Like the other one staying behind to continue to feed and clothe and take care of
Grow the roots
kids.
and,
so you talked about being invited in these communities.
Yeah.
How have you both and your team? How have you worked through this white savior complex and not coming in? Yeah, the white people coming in from our privileged vantage point to save you versus coming alongside to say, what do you need?
Exactly.
How have you guys wrestled through that over the years?
Yeah, and it's constant.
Right, yeah. You don't overcome that, right?
Right. It's like what we wanted was a collaboration, a consultation, that continues. And we always felt that the people in the community knew what was best for the community, and they will be experts on what an educational program needs to be in their community. And it looks very different community to community. So we have 14 village locations. We have to be invited, and it's an ongoing sort of conversation with the community. Like one community really wanted early childhood development, and so this program sort of grew. Another was one with an education program for kids with disabilities. All of these ideas have come out of the community, not our idea, but the community's initiative.
Yeah.
So
you talked specifically about the idea of the white savior. So we have an incredible executive director, Dr. Catherine Adams, and she's lived in country. I think she's the only expatriate American, who lives there full time. I know from my own experience, the first time that I visited with my daughters, she was very clear that I think a lot of programs from various organizations, churches, and whatever type of group, very charitable organizations go down and they feel as though they can give something to the community.
Yeah.
Catherine was very clear about not wanting for us to teach, especially not my daughters, because my daughters were the same age as the
Sure.
girls in the program. And she said, what would be most powerful for all of you is if my girls, go and participate alongside. Because I think that in the past, possibly there were families that were like, we'll bring our kids, and the kids are like, I'm going to teach them how to, X, Y, Z. Which already makes the girls in the program feel different, we don't have as much to share. And that experience itself and the humility involved in us taking a back seat to what was actually happening, which is the learning, was very powerful for me to realize that just by sitting beside the girls and learning alongside the girls and hearing from them what they need was much more important to the broader scheme and scope of what we wanted to do with Lide overall than imparting, our Western ideas. Oh, I mean, they're part of the Western hemisphere
Right.
as well, right? What? But part of our truly American, let's
Yeah.
do it, let's get it done ideas
We know
instead.
best,
Yeah, and I felt that more quiet, sitting back, observing, and learning from the Haitians what's needed, and then us being able to take our own resources, what we know, what we have, and being able to support that.
Yeah. That's
So-
really good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Supporting the resources that are already there.
Yep.
As they're needed and asked for.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is our program. There are 80 Haitian staff members that work for Lide, as Erin was saying, and our expat executive director.
So
who-
1-to-80 ratio.
Yeah,
right?
1-to-80.
White. Yeah. That's
yeah,
great.
and 92% women, which for an international NGO
wild.
is wild
Yeah.
and is really really special. And so their ideas, having this big core of women, it's not a token idea. It's absolutely
It's fundamental part of
fundamental. Yeah,
It's the
who and what Lide is.
yeah.
You should describe what the Potomacan is.
Oh, the Potomacan is the woman in Haiti. The mother is called the Potomacan, which is the tent pole, the one
Yeah.
who holds up the house. But it's great. We need the tent pole, but the tent pole, if all the weight is there, it will be held back too. So we want to support all of the other walls as well.
That's
all
great.
the other women. So
That's great. So give me a big scope of like what's happening with Lide. Like, so today, that was years, the earthquake was 2010, 9 years ago. In the past 9 years, what has this sort of turned into?
yeah. It's so we
80 staff,
80 staff,
92% women, 800
850 girls.
850 girls.
14 village programs. So that would be all of the arts components are going on full time. So that's photography,
Poetry, creative writing, theater, improv, visual arts, drawing, creative writing. Did you already say that?
Creative writing.
Yeah, it's our favorite.
Guys, they love creative writing. They want to make sure you get that part. They're both creative writers.
Did we mention that?
Yeah, did we mention creative writing?
So those are the core, curriculum, and it's theme based. So and values based, virtues based. So the theme, there's a theme each month on a virtue, compassion, justice, et cetera, et cetera. So that's
awesome.
always being.
So that's integrated into whatever they're doing, whatever outlet they're using. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Then
great.
we have our standalone, our literacy program. So most girls don't have access to consistent education, and many don't have it at all. So we have a literacy program called Alphabon and a numeracy program. And these are created within Haiti by Haitian women for rural Haitian women. So that is another amazing component that's local. So that's part of our program. We work with a Smallholders Farmers Alliance. So we are able to employ community cooks with fresh local food. So each girl, when she comes to our program, gets a meal of fresh food. Now, most girls, adolescent girls in this community will eat once every 24 hours. So hunger and, malnutrition, we're in the red zone there. So we've got a lot of, issues of extreme poverty.
Before we turn on the mic, you
Yeah.
said one meal a day, but they're surrounded by food.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
Right. It's all in the distribution.
Yep.
There is not a food shortage in Haiti. And it's interesting because I'll talk to a lot of people that are like, oh, we need to take food. You know what I mean? We're coming with the rice program, and all of that incoming food creates dependency and kills the local
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah.
So that's why the Smallholders Farmer Alliance is so terrific, because it works with 2,000 farmers. And they're the region where we work, it's called the Artibonite region, which is kind of the River Valley Delta area, like the breadbasket of Haiti, really. There's a lot of rice fields there that are coming back. And local, we sort of support projects for independent rice production.
That's really great.
Most of the brought in rice is from Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Erin, you mentioned that you went from being very reluctant. Rain said, let's go. And you're like, someday. And then you went, and now you're a board member. So what was the journey there? Like, why was it so important to you to go all the way to board member, which is a very important, I'm a board member on several nonprofits as well. Like it's a weighty, big thing. So what's going on there?
Well, I never would have guessed that I would be a board member of any nonprofit. It seemed like too big of a responsibility.
Sure, yeah.
What happened was I went and I saw it, and I was fortunate enough to see it. Now I realize at this stage that I didn't have to go see it. There's plenty of work that I can do here with Lide, but for whatever reason at that time, when I went and saw what was happening on the ground, it occurred to me that I have never seen a nonprofit or any organization truly that really existed to scaffold its mission with as many resources as it could. And really, I felt like for the money that we get, and if you saw our budget, I mean, it's tiny. The amount of work that we can get done with that for a holistic approach to a person, not just for their education, but to help really instill some resilience, I just thought I need to be a part of this. So when we came back, I said, anything that you need from me, I'm available. I can absolutely help you. I'm not sure, take these hands and let me help you do whatever it is you need. Like I wasn't even sure. Do you need me to write something? There's that writing again. Do you need me to write anything?
Guys, they like to creatively write.
Have I talked about creative writing yet? Have we talked about the writing? Do you need me to write blurbs? Do you need me to write anything for PR marketing? Yeah. So my daughters and I were involved with the social media.
Cool.
And then Rain and Holiday both said, would you be interested in being on our board? And at first I wasn't sure if I would say yes. And not because I didn't want to, but because I was hoping I was going to be good enough, able to be supportive. But it's my heart. It's my heart. The idea of educating young women, like I said, I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's one of the most important things in the world. And if we have some resources, both internally, financially, anything that we can do, I think we should do it.
Yeah.
So that's why.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Erin and I work together on a community level here in LA, educating young people about Lide, about these issues, and they become really important here as well. Like
An ambassador.
Yeah. She kind of runs what we call our youth ambassador program here.
That's really great.
So young women who are interested in becoming involved, and young men too.
Young men too that are curious about.
Mm-hmm.
To help.
We just were at a school today working with a group of boys doing Lide inspired.
If our young boys
work,
can learn the importance of, long before they have the potential to become, take on the negative traits that a bad man can have, misogyny or sexism or anything. Before they learn all of that, maybe they're already exposed to some of it in their lives as young boys, but like if they can learn the importance of valuing women and supporting them like early on, that's a world of good that you're putting in front of them.
It was a really great day. And so the more we can do this, we have a few more coming up. We are kind of out there a few times a month. And local kids are getting involved locally with projects and then signing up to be monthly donors. There's some schools on the East Coast as well that we've visited. There was a Muslim high school. It runs the gamut.
Awesome.
Runs the gamut.
That's awesome.
But, there's so many things that Lide does in a day that I didn't even get to those when we were talking. Like the computer lab is going on. We have our transitions program, which is basically, this is for girls who are going out into the workplace.
Yeah.
They're learning how to have a bank account. They're learning how to, save money. They're learning
awesome.
how to start a small business, all sorts of programs
Early
like
childhood
that.
development.
Early childhood development.
Just recently, we've started doing early childhood development, in part because some of the young women in our program become mothers before they finish our program and need to bring their younger siblings or their children to the program. And we were also realizing that there was a need for them to have support and resources, not just childcare, but also so that they would be able to see how to support and manage their household as an educated mother. For me, this has been one of my favorite things because I've watched over the years as I've gone back to the program, some of these little tinies growing up and learning how to even hold a pencil, to read and to write at a young age, whereas maybe their mother came to the program at 14, 15 illiterate. So to me, that is one of the changing faces of Haiti. And I feel like if we are seeing that kind of exposure to knowledge and education and creativity at that age, then just imagine it could be a very different world for them when they grow up, or a different government, a different country, a different village, a different family for sure. So anyway, that's it. That one's exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's leave Lide aside for a second, and I want to ask you a couple questions that I think will be really helpful just to get your feedback on. We're living in very interesting times. I mean, you could say that about every period forever in history, but we are living in this one, and there are many marginalized groups that are experiencing, persecution, and they're worried and they're upset. And we just live in, here on our soil and overseas, there's so much to worry about. There's so much shit going on. It can be a little overwhelming. So from your perspective and the experiences that you've had pre-Lide Haiti and post-Lide, in the last 9 years of Lide, how do you recommend everybody that's listening, all these damn givers that are listening, how do we stay hopeful and or positive, and not get so bogged down by everything? How do we stay, because you can't create good things out of panic and out of anger, because it'll be soiled. It'll have weird stuff in it. But out of hopeful spirits, you can create beautiful things like this, devastating earthquake, so many lives ruined and families ruined and literally the infrastructure ruined, and hopeful things came out of it, right? And so how do we do that on an ongoing basis?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, because I can only speak for myself here, but the arts, for me, were always the answer because they were it's a spiritual act, an expressive act of the soul. And I feel like our world, human problems have a spiritual, they're a spiritual problem. The injustice and the prejudice and the war and all of it is a spiritual malady. You know what I mean? So the solution needs to be spiritual. It's not an institution that's going to come along, or a human being is just going to.
We can clearly see that for sure.
We know that it doesn't work. Like, we're living in the brokenness of all of it. And so to me, it is spiritually helping to empower young people who are going to walk into the future, to give them spiritual empowerment, the tools to sort of say, all of us have this job, and that's to advance our civilization in a united way, united in all of our difference. Like right now, we live in a time that can't tolerate, a difference. It's like our idea of unity is like everybody has to agree on everything, There's not that sense of a group consciousness. We have one planet. That's it.
Yeah.
And everything looks the same. If you don't have oxygen and food, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, we've kind of forget the essential things. Like, so the idea, if we're all equal, and I know this sounds, simplistic or la-da-da, but oneness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, seeing everyone as a member of your family. If the human race is a family, then we can start to really work together across national lines, across political, lines, all of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So the idea of all of the Lide classes, it's like, if we start finding that unity within, we can bring it to our community, and then our institutions will mirror those values.
Yeah, it's
you know,
beautiful. Erin, I
anyway.
think you'd probably agree with her because in your Twitter bio, you have global citizen there, right? Which is a big
Yes.
loaded statement. What?
When I wrote that, and it's funny, I haven't been on Twitter for so long, I'm very flattered that you found my Twitter. I absolutely feel it. When I say global citizen, I mean finally feeling the humility and the weight of responsibility, allowing myself to sit next to and not in front of or above other humans. You know,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
In terms of hopefulness and continuing to feel hopeful in the face of, a lot of change, a lot of things that are feeling uncomfortable. So I teach yoga also, and one of the things that I like to say is to find comfort within the discomfort, trying to find a sense
Sure.
a sense
Yeah.
of calm in the middle of chaos. The easiest way for me to do it, like if you're in a vinyasa class and you're doing like all of your jump backs, your step backs, blah, 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 all that stuff, and then you finally come back into your standing pose and you put your hands together and you have your thumbs at your heart and then just feeling your heartbeat. To me, that's super powerful.
Yeah.
It's a reminder, okay, well, I'm still here. There's blood pumping in my veins and I didn't put it there and I can't control it with my thoughts or my politics or my voting. It's still there. And then if I were to put my hand on your heart, I can feel your humanity pumping through your veins. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with me ideologically or not, like we're the same. So that to me, when I saw my daughters relating with the girls in Haiti on a very like 13, 14-year-old level, playing hand clap games and braiding each other's hair and talking, even though they didn't speak the same language, then I realized it's just about one person meeting another person, meeting another person. That's it.
Yeah.
So I feel like our program has grown from one girl and addressing the challenges for that one girl, that one community, just one at a time, one meal at a time, one program at a time. I think it's actually a lot more powerful than we think. People like numbers and they like statistics and, we've done this, 4,000% better than last year. Like I was telling you, the little kids that I've seen from year to year.
Yeah.
To see two little kids that I had seen prior as babies with pencils in their hand and mimicking writing and trying to read at age 2.5.
It's beautiful.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
And also the moms and the grandmothers, we have programs for them.
Oh, so cool.
Moms and the grandmothers. So
Just multi-generational.
Yes. So recently we always have our community literacy gatherings and the girls lead those. And so the daughters are leading their moms and most of their moms are illiterate, but the moms are all in literacy now. And, that's taken 3 or 4 years, but the resources are now in place for the moms to have gathered their time so that they can come learn how to read too. And that's across the board, because we said, which would you, what would the community most need? Do you need healthcare workshops? What do you need? And they're like, we need to read. We need to read. So
yeah, the multi-generation.
hope to me.
Yeah, if I can give you a scene, most of the time when we go and we're teaching in a program, we'll be speaking with the girls, and the girls, they know what they're doing. So they're reading, they're writing, they're doing the theater exercises, cameras, whatever. And then at the edges, you'll see the mothers, the grandmothers, the fathers sort of standing back. And the look of pride on their faces as they're watching these young women become educated it's like nothing you've ever seen. They're not... I was going to make a bad joke. I have a daughter I had one daughter in college and one that's like about to go into college. So we just went through the whole college app process. And these people are not paying $6 million to get their daughter on the row team at Berkeley.
Yes.
But their daughter is reading and they probably never expected that for her.
No, it's not even. Why would they even expect that? Because they're just surviving day to day.
Or what it might mean to them,
Yeah.
to their grandchildren in the future, to their great grandchildren.
It's life-altering progress.
It's world changing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whether we actually truly believe that we're just educating one girl or not, I think we're actually educating a lot more. Anyway, that's my humble opinion.
Yeah, I do think, the times right now we live in, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the problems. You can kind of be in the problem very easily. And it's just like what kind of gets me through the day is, and this would be the case no matter who was the president or what was going on in the Congress or who ruled the house or whatever, is just the idea that I want to be in the solution somehow.
Yeah.
And the solution, if you're focusing on helping to create a safe space, so someone who hasn't been safe and hasn't been able to grow and learn is one more participating soul in this advancement of the human family. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
here and there, I'm not choosing to just go somewhere and do that. I also have a stake in the local community.
Yeah.
And linking the local with the global is essential to me.
Super essential.
So
I always say I don't do it super well all the time, but there's a million things
yeah,
that Trump, and name your person, can't touch, that I can focus on and say, what can I do about? And it's a lot of those things. It's your community, it's your neighbors, and then how does that link to my heart and my passion in Haiti, and whatever your thing is, whatever whoever's listening, their thing is. Like, there's so many things we can focus on, and I think that's where the hope comes from. When you stop focusing on, like, yes, this person and these people, they can change things. They can change how our country looks and feels, but there's a million things they can never touch.
right. Yeah.
And we got to focus on that.
Exactly.
What do you want people to do? So they, if they listen on a regular occasion, they're being presented with, so many calls to action.
Sure.
But not all of them connect with everyone. In fact, I always tell people, not everything that you hear, you need to act on. It has to resonate with your heart. So I imagine some people are listening, and girls' education, women female empowerment, arts, literacy, all those things are really connecting with them right now. So if that is true for some people listening, what's the best way for them to get involved and help out and support?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's specifically to Lee Day, which would be amazing, you can begin to follow us on Instagram. Is our big presence at Lee Day Haiti, and you can find out about how our programs are working daily, just in terms of what's going on and what's happening, both in Haiti and then just on a larger global scale in Geneva and Brussels, and our executive director going and speaking about all of these issues on that kind of policy level. But we have subscribers, monthly subscribers, and we also really support local groups of adolescent girls locally who would like to do Lee Day-like activities in their communities, in communities where there's any sort of challenge and it's really hard. We've had, girls start to use sort of our, exercises based on what we do and have found community solutions. So part of it is writing to us. And if you're interested in what we do and you see, a component in your own neighborhood, we'd be happy to consult with you, you know what I mean? And share. Because if you're passionate about women's ed, social justice, how to uplift the quality of life of women and girls, that would be a great thing to do. And if you're interested in raising money for us, sending one girl to school in a scholarship for a year is $150. You know what I mean? And you can give somebody and 100 other people, by proxy, a really different way to go forward,
for 150.
For 150.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a lot of different fundraising drives and stuff, and all of that is on the Instagram as well.
So the main way to know about all that stuff is follow the Instagram, and if you're really interested, go to the top 3 buttons at the top that turn on notifications so that they don't miss posts, because sometimes with the algorithm and everything, really stay on top of it, and then write if they want to know more about how to do this in their own communities. And
totally. And we have so much information about who we work with, our grant partners and everything, on our website as well.
Okay.
www.
And I'll link to all that for sure.
Yeah, and our Facebook too. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out too that Rainn Wilson, if you do, if anyone's a fan of The Office and they follow Rainn, he's always posting interesting stuff about Lee Day. Yeah. And he did this great, really fun Facebook telethon in December, and it was really fun because it was a big reunion for a lot of The Office folks and a lot of friends here in LA, and people on Facebook were able to join in that, sort of check in with their favorite Office people and learn a little bit more about Haiti, Lee Day in Haiti, and that was really fun. So that kind of thing. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention too, and this is super simple, is if you use Amazon, which some people do.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
Amazon Smile.
Have you heard of Amazon?
Yes, I have. I've ordered a thing or two from them in the last hour.
Creative
Yeah,
writing and
yeah,
Amazon.
creative writing and Amazon. Let's drive it home, people.
Those are the only two things you need to Google from now on. But if you use Amazon Smile, you can
It's
choose
the easiest way to give. It's
you can
so
choose
great.
lead. For me, I forget to use it. It's not the first portal that comes up on my own home computer, and which is embarrassing to say. But during the times when it counts, August, most of my kids and my family are born in August, so it's sort of like our second Christmas month. During the month of August, and then also at Christmas Hanukkah
yeah,
time,
that adds up.
then I make sure that I have it on there. And if a couple people did that, it's really helpful. And I'm not paying more for my Amazon.
Nope.
The other thing is the subscriber. I do want to mention that again. I'm a big proponent of public radio and things that I love. And I do subscribe. I think it's like $10 a month to a couple of places that I really, truly believe in. And Lead A is one of them. So for like $10 a month,
Yeah.
I sound like Sally
It's a couple
Struthers.
coffees.
But if you ever buy like 4 coffees for your friends throughout a month, that's like $10. And so
Yeah.
if you signed up for 1 year and paid $10
in LA,
a month,
that's like 2 coffees, maybe.
oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My quad mocha, no
Yeah,
whip.
that's like $12 right there. So 1 coffee a month.
Exactly.
Oh wait, was it organic? 12.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
$12.
right, $12. Okay, so let's conclude with this. This is a big question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
For both of you.
Okay.
I don't know.
Many years from now, you both are going to die. We're all going to die. In this hypothetical scenario, I've been asked to give you a eulogy.
Okay.
And so everybody that you have had, your family and your friends and your daughters and your son and the lead A, everybody's there. Everybody's gathered together to celebrate and mourn your lives.
Mm-hmm.
In a sentence or two, what do you hope that I would say over you on that day?
Wow, that's a great question. I love that. I'm going to use that for a writing exercise. Thanks, Nick.
Go for it. You're welcome.
Wait, so you're not
But now
gonna
you got to answer it.
No, I know.
She was just stalling. She was stalling that. No, I'm just
trying to
kidding.
hand me the mic.
No, it's the question though, right? Because
No, it is,
we have to
yeah.
reverse engineer life, right?
Right.
So we think about that statement. What do I want to be known for? Because that could happen 5 minutes from now. I could get hit. People are crazy in the state driving, so I could get hit on the way back. So we just got to reverse engineer and say, okay, if that's tonight or 50 years from now, got to work toward that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would say it this articulately. I would maybe hire a writer for my eulogy or
There you
something.
go.
But I always
You are a writer.
All right. I find in the world that I grew up in and that I lived in that everybody was like a siloed person, like a compartmentalized person. Like they were one way at home and then they were a different way at church, or they were, you know what I mean? They were a certain way in their career and a certain way with their family. And those things didn't ever dovetail. They didn't integrate. They didn't balance. And I wanted to be the same holiday everywhere so that people said, oh my God, she was a really kind person. She was who she said she was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That she lived her values, that she was just as kind to one person as she was in front of 10 people. That my son would say, well, she wasn't just nice outside and then would come home and be horrible to me. You know what I mean? That the genuine, a person of integrity, a person that put the upliftment of others first, a humble person, that I would have left some sort of a legacy of hope to more than just my own. I wouldn't want to leave a bunch of stuff. I'm glad. I would hope that like an educational program or a story, that just sort of celebrated the kind of strange paradox of life and also celebrated having aspirations, that education and art, and wonder would be something she would support.
It's beautiful.
So let's bury her.
Yeah. Now let's bury her.
And now let's bury her and have
let's
an
bury her.
amazing party.
Yes, there's got to be a party. Erin?
Well, I mean, if it's you doing it, I'd like for you to say, well, this chick gave a damn.
She gave a damn.
She gave a damn. But another thing I told you earlier is how much I love Joan Didion. And so one of her quotes, I think I'm paraphrasing, is, I want to tell you to just live in the mess. Throw yourself out into the convulsions of the world. I'm not telling you to make the world a better place, because I don't believe progress is necessarily part of the package. I'm just telling you to live in it, to look at it, to witness it, take chances, make your own work, take pride in it, seize the moment. So I guess what I would want you to say, I would hope that I would live it, is that I lived in the mess. I lived in the mess.
Yeah.
And that tried to make it a better mess.
And you embraced it.
A better mess. Took pride in that mess.
Bless this.
That's wonderful. Bless this mess. Well, thank you both. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for dropping
you,
by
Nick.
LA. I hope you move here.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
It's a great place to visit, but a better place to live.
Is that what they say?
That's
Yeah.
what
I believe
that's
it.
what I'm telling you right
You just
now.
coined it. I like that. Put that on a t-shirt. That'll sell. That'll sell. Thank you both for doing this, and let's do it again sometime. Let's do round 2 in a couple years.
All
and
right,
see
yeah.
what the progress
see
is
what's
about.
going on.
I love it. I
Thanks,
love it.
Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, friends. I truly enjoyed this conversation. I hope you did too. As we wrap up each week, I challenge you with something that you can do this very week. So here's this week's challenge. Find a young person in your life and encourage them this week. Maybe go a step further and mentor them, but at least encourage, challenge, and invest a little bit of time, energy into them. Several times during adulthood so far, I've had the opportunity to mentor a young person. Each time, I'm so glad I did it. It's so worth my time and energy and everything else that is involved. Young people are our future. I, the father of 3 little kids, know this so very well. They have to live in the world that we leave to them. So let's spend some time now investing in them. Follow Lide Haiti on social media at Lide Haiti on all the social media platforms. That's LIDEHAITI on all social media platforms. And check out their work and more ways you can get involved by visiting lidehaiti.org. I'll have all of these links in the show notes, of course. Speaking of show notes, you can find more information on this podcast conversation and Let's Give a Damn in general by going to letsgiveadamn.com. If you love what we're doing with this show and this platform, please tell a friend this week, or maybe leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can give a few dollars each month to us to support the production and execution of this show by visiting patreon.com/letsgiveadamn. This podcast episode was produced by yours truly and the incredible Chad Snavely. The music is by our wonderful friend Propaganda. Can't wait to spend time with you again next week. Peace.